All right, let's get into this. Natalie, welcome
Hello.
to this special series of the podcast.
Hi, you're right.
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you.
Good. So, thank you for coming on, and I want you to share your experience openly and honestly, which I know you will do. But before we get into the questions, I have like 10 fun, quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, if you can't answer the first one, then you can get off the podcast. Number one, your full name, your age, whether you have children or not, and what your profession is.
That's 4 questions, technically.
Well, yeah, good point. You've got a point there.
I'm Natalie Fletcher. I'm nearly 41. I'm a police officer in Derby, and I have one 15-year-old son.
Called?
Tyler.
I know Tyler is a lovely lad. Number 2, sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
This is why we're best friends. One of the reasons. Number 3, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Number 4, I already know what you're going to say for this one. Weights or cardio?
Weights.
Yeah. Number 5, 3 things you love.
You,
Yeah.
Tyler, and fitness.
You forgot yourself.
Oh, well, you didn't give me 4 things.
Number 6, do you have a favourite quote or mantra?
Yes, be your own kind of beautiful. I even have it tattooed on my body.
I love it. I was writing these questions like I kind of know what she's gonna. It's like Mr. and Mrs. You know that TV show Mr. and Mrs. when someone gets married and they have to ask questions. Number 7. Okay, I'm intrigued. Something you like that others may consider weird or strange.
Mint sauce on everything.
Yeah, that is totally weird. Number 8, 3 things you love about yourself.
My positive outlook on life. The way I think about others and put them for, and I'm a good mum.
Yeah, I agree to all of those and more. Number 9, if you could be a mythical creature or an animal, what would you be and why?
100% a flamingo.
I literally wrote the question mythical animal, then I was like, she's gonna say flamingo, so I'm gonna write or an animal.
Well, when you said mythical, I'm thinking I don't want to be a mythical one, I want to be a flamingo.
And what's the reason why?
Because they're pink and I love everything pink.
Indeed. And if you're not watching the YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast right now, go and look at the YouTube because Nat has a pinkish background and you're wearing a pinkish colour t-shirt, sweater, of course. And number 10, imagine this is kind of quite a serious one actually for me. Fast forward to the very distant future and you're on your deathbed. That's why it's so far ahead in the future. And you're reflecting back on your life. What are you most proud of about the life you've lived?
That I've made sure I've lived it to the fullest.
Love them. Thank you for answering those because you didn't know about them. They were a surprise. And can you give the listeners a little background about you and your personal struggles with food and body image?
Yeah, well, I didn't really have any struggles until I was in my late 20s. I think I was in the Navy when I left school and I didn't have any hang-ups at all. I was very happy in myself and the way I looked. Then I had a couple of bad relationships that knocked my confidence. And then from my late 20s and pretty much all of my 30s, that's where I've suffered with ups and down spells of lack of self-love, self-confidence, suffered with spells of depression, anxiety, as well as binge eating, bulimia. And it's only been since I've been in my 40s that, with your help, that I've tackled that and overcome it.
Amazing. What was you struggling with when you signed up for coaching?
Well, I know rock bottom's different for everybody, but I'd hit my rock bottom, and I wasn't suicidal or anything like that. I was very low and depressed, but I'm very much, because I've got a son to live for, and I'm also very appreciative of other people in my life and the things I do have. I never got that low that I didn't want to be here, but I got very low as far as I didn't have any self-worth. I lost the love of like my fitness that I've always been part of my life. I was cancelling on seeing people and doing things that I wouldn't normally do. And so I just lost a purpose. That was my main thing. I'd lost my purpose in life, whereas I've always had a purpose. And that's when I was sick to death of being in this vicious circle of trying new things, a diet every Monday, a new fitness regime, and nothing was working because I ended up coming back around again to feeling low. And enough was enough, and that's when we reached out.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. What I know you've already mentioned it in your conversation we've just been having. How you felt at the time, lack of purpose in the diet binge cycle, how did that affect your everyday life? Did it stop you from doing the things that you kind of wanted to do?
Well, as you know, because we've been friends a long time, fitness has always been a passion of mine. I don't do it to lose weight, or I do it because I enjoyed it, and that's it. And I was naturally quite good at being fit, but I'd lost all confidence in being in the gym and exercising because I was so self-conscious about the way I looked, which was a vicious circle, because I know there's that saying, you can't out-train a bad diet, but for years I did.
You tried and you did.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, ultimately I didn't, but for a few years my fitness level and the amount of exercise I did mask to the outside world that I had binge eating disorder, that I had bulimia and stuff, because my fitness level and how much fit was keeping my weight under control to some extent. But then when depression kicked in, because mentally it took its toll on me. So then when depression and anxiety kicked in, so the fitness stopped, the weight creeped on. So then there was a more physical element to other people seeing that something was wrong, because I was able to hide it for many years, that things were going on in the background, but I was able to mask it. And I think once the weight had crept on and I became the biggest I'd ever been, other factors then played a part, as in I would cancel plans with my friends. I used to go out and like to socialise and have a drink, but I couldn't handle getting ready, choosing an outfit. So and even everyday work, like I had to take some time off work because I couldn't handle putting uniform on, because the uniform is the most unflattering uniform in the world anyway, but it emphasized what I was so self-conscious about. So yeah, it took over my life and I was not doing the things I used to enjoy doing.
And this question, the next question I have, a little bit of a bias is going to be in there, because as I've said at the beginning of this podcast that you've not heard yet, because I'm going to add this in, it's a great place to start with you in this little series because you're my best friend. So of course there is some bias there, but why did you choose to work with me over somebody else who does, something similar to what I do?
Well, like I said, biased initially because obviously you are my best friend, and I've been on the journey with you in your development, so I've seen how you've grown, and obviously I know your personal journey and how you've overcome it by actually following what you teach. So to see how you were to where you are now, to be fair, inspired me. So not only do I know it works and what you teach works, because I've seen it firsthand in yourself, obviously you know me personally, and it's hard to talk about your past and the triggers of what caused you to be where you are. And as you know, I'm quite a private person, but at the same time I want to be the strong one, the independent one, the one that doesn't suffer and things like that. So because you already knew my struggles, it was easier to open up and talk about it without having to go over every single aspect of it, because you already knew a lot of it. Plus, as a friend, I wanted to support your business. I knew it was a venture for you, so I wanted to support you in it.
Oh, thank you.
So it was a two-way thing. I knew it would benefit me, but also I knew it would benefit you too.
Thank you. And I feel like it's time to share. I think you know what story I'm going to share. The amount of things me and Nat have done together we've known each other for a long, long time, just one of the many occasions that we had together when we were going to start a diet the next day. How many times have you done that with your friends, those that are listening? Again, you know, it's nice because you have that community, but it's beautiful that me and Nat have moved away from that, like, albeit me ahead a little bit, so I can teach Nat the same. Now we're out of the diet culture, but one time I went round to Nat's house, and then we decided to take before photos. And because we felt so horrible about the way we looked, we drew. You actually went out and brought face paints purposely for this, didn't you?
Yes,
we drew on our faces like actual tears, like running down our faces in face paints, to have these photos taken of ourselves that only me and Nat were going to see, but you know, a front, a side and a back, and we kept them where no one would see them because we aimed to do them again in 3 months' time for the after photos. That never happened because we couldn't stick to the diet, of course. But the funny thing was, we ordered
a farewell meal.
Everything, a farewell meal, the Last Supper, which happened every Sunday night, pizza, dessert delivery, all the things that you could. I think you were done, you couldn't finish it, and I was like, I would just force feed myself again and have it all. And the delivery man answered the delivery man came to the door, and we answered the door literally with blue tiered face paints on our face. That's quite a funny story that I just wanted to share. And I would love those that are listening, I genuinely would love to hear your funny stories, the things that you've done with your friends around dieting and binge eating, if you're in a position to joke about that now. I get that this isn't a joking matter, like me and Nat used to joke with each other, but in the reality of things, we were so upset and sad with how we felt. We had
to turn it to humour to get through it, I think.
Exactly that. We used the humour to cover up like what it was really doing to us. So feel free to share if you're in a position to do so, because we can have that little laugh together. But I want to talk now, Nat, about the financial investment, because this can be a really big deal for some people, and for some people it can be a deal breaker because they just can't invest in themselves. How did you feel about the financial investment before you started coaching?
Well, obviously it's an impact, and it does sometimes sway your decision because obviously I'm a single mum, so all my money that comes into the household is purely on me, and obviously I've got lots of things to pay out for, and sometimes, especially when you've got no self-worth, you don't feel that you can justify spending that bit of that money on yourself, because you've got other things. Like for me, my son's a priority, so surely him having everything he wants in life is more important than what I want, is how I've always looked at it. But like you said, I've got to the point in my life where I'm in my 40s now, and I don't want to keep feeling like this, so I just made the decision that it is time to do something different. And if that involved investing in myself, yes, it took some juggling around. Obviously, we spoke about installment plans and things like that. But it's about prioritizing what you want, because I could always find the money to go to the takeaway or the shop to spend a tenner on chocolate for the one night. So I found that money somehow. So I suppose it was about prioritizing, and some things had to take a cut back. But then reality of it is, it was worth it. So I'm not spending the money that I was spending on the junk food and this next diet plan that I found online and stuff like that. So it's about just realizing what actually is important and then investing that money in the right place.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that can be an awkward conversation with some people, no matter how much you want it. Like you've openly admitted, if you broke your phone, I'm sure you'd find the money to replace your phone. We find the money for things we really want. And you hit the nail on the head around self-worth, because a lot of people that I know I can help at the beginning of our coaching relationship, they may not feel worthy of investing in themselves, or they might not believe that it can work for them because they have no self-belief. So
plus you've probably, and the people listening, I've already spent a lot of money on different concepts that are going to work and then they didn't. So you've got a lack of like credibility in spending that money, because actually I've spent lots of money on lots of different things that claim to work and never did. But like I said, but coaching I think is completely different to the latest fad diet, because you get into the core of what's actually causing the issues and the things that you're struggling with, whereas a fad diet or a fitness campaign is masking over the issues. putting a plaster on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've definitely been listening to personal development stuff. You can take over. I love that. And what have you got out of coaching? How has it changed your life?
I would say, especially for the last year, mainly. Obviously, I think I've been in and out of it the last couple of years. Like, I've had a really good spell, and then I've had a dip, and then I'm back out of it again. But even when I had my dip at the beginning of this year, I still had the tools that I'd learned with you. That one, the dip didn't last as long as what it has done in the past. I was able to implement what I'd learned and come out of the other side stronger than I was before. I didn't beat myself up about how I was feeling at the beginning of the year, whereas I have done in the past. So realistically, it has changed my life, because I feel like I'm the Natalie that I used to be, or that I want to be, because I've got my confidence back. I won't cancel plans anymore. I've found my love of fitness again, which was a huge thing for me to reach out and take on at the beginning of the year, because I was 4.5 stone heavier than I ever was. And I went back to a personal trainer that I trained with when I was at my fittest a few years ago.
Shout out to Craig.
Shout out to Craig Hall. And the nerves that I felt and the anxiety that I felt going back into that fitness world, especially with someone who knew me slimmer, fitter, to go back, I built it all up in my head that it was going to be the worst thing in the world, but actually it was the best thing in the world, because one, he's a great personal trainer and he knows me as a person, so he never, well, he always tells me off if I'm ever negative about the way I physically am, but also it's shown me that it doesn't matter what size you are. If you apply yourself to something, you can do it. Because yes, I've lost weight over the course of getting back into my fitness, which was a byproduct of my fitness journey, not the goal of it. But I'm still bigger than I was years ago, but I'm fitter than I've ever been. So it just shows you it doesn't matter what size or shape you are. If you're happy in yourself and you work hard and you're consistent with what you're doing, you can achieve what you want to achieve, and that's what I'm doing.
How, think back to when we first started coaching, specifically around like how you felt towards food to start with. How quickly did you everyone's different, so there's no, obviously when people are listening to this, don't try not to compare your journey to Natalie's, but how quickly did you see shifts in how you felt towards food in the coaching?
I think it was very quickly, because we had a set structure to what we were doing, and I applied myself to it, because I thought, well, if you invest in and you hit right button, then I had faith in what you were teaching me each week. So because I did put my all into everything that we did each week, I did notice the difference in the areas that I was learning that week. But I think overall, like I said, it was only small notice and changes, because I think it's only now, 18 months on, that it's become second nature. It's become a lifestyle. I don't have to think about it too much and things like that. Whereas when I was on the journey with you, I was having to be very conscious about what I was, like the words I would use, as we had that, how many times did I use the words like treat instead of snack and things. So it was like, yes, I was having to be very conscious about how I was thinking about the food and eating the food, and whereas now it's just second nature. It's not an issue anymore. It's just, I eat food because I eat food and I enjoy the food, and that's it. But I did see small changes throughout the whole process.
That's the key, because with the dieting world, I think it is changing slowly, which is nice to see, but still it's always like a quick fix. That's what they're selling, and that's what we always wanted when we were going on diets together. We want to see a big result in like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, like these things. So coaching, as you know and explained, is different. With coaching, I like to explain it that when you first start a diet, it's really exciting and it's easy the first few days, and it gradually gets harder and harder and harder. With coaching, I believe it's very exciting, but it's very difficult at the beginning, because you're having to, as you shared, consciously think about what you're allowing yourself to think and how you're labeling foods, and you physically rewiring your brains and the neurons, how they fire in your brain. But then it gets easier and easier and easier, and like you've just shared, it's just who you are now. It just takes effort, which is why I believe that investment is necessary, of not only money but time, energy and attention as well, with the coaching calls, because you've got that support, that structure to keep moving forward and to keep putting in the work, and then before you know it, it's just your life, which is how it works. That's amazing. And can you recall any breakthrough moments that you had, any kind of like, oh shit, that's why, or anything that surprised you?
I think it was lots of little things for me, not like a massive oh my god moment. Little things like, as you know, I love peanut M&Ms, and normally a big like share bag is not a share bag in my eyes. It's a
Natalie bag.
do that in about 5 minutes kind of bag. And I think I was watching a film once and I had the bag with me, and obviously the old Natalie would have demolished that in seconds, and then I would have been back in the kitchen for multiple other things. But I got about halfway through and I just thought, oh, I feel full, and I actually closed the bag and put them away. Well, I have never ever done that in my entire life, because even when I felt full, the old Natalie would just keep eating, because that's what I did. So that was a breakthrough moment, that I've never actually gone, oh, I feel full now, I don't actually need these chocolate anymore, and I'll have them another day, which I did do. Didn't even go back for them. So that was a massive breakthrough, as small as it sounds.
No, I remember the messages we sent,
yeah,
and that
but
was
for
huge.
for someone that would never ever think about the full feeling or anything like that, they just ate for the sake of eating, and to excess sometimes as well, for me to actually stop and think, well, actually, and listen to my body, that was a big moment for me, especially because it was my favorite chocolate as well. That was never a go. I think the other thing was when I accepted myself, because obviously I was bigger, and I didn't have any clothes that fit me and things like that. And obviously my old self would be like, right, I've got to diet to get back into my wardrobe full of clothes. But once we've done some of the work on positive body image and things, I didn't love myself or even really like myself at that stage, but I accepted myself at that size, and I went out and bought clothes to fit me at that size, so I could start to feel better in myself when I was in the mirror, because I was actually having clothes that fit me. And the big thing, like you said, remember when I went to get bigger uniform, which was a massive deal for me, because it's accepting what's happened and that I am a bigger girl, and to go and get bigger uniform and buy bigger clothes was a big thing, but it was a big turning point, because I've not had to do it again, because my mindset's
Isn't it ironic how, and I used to be in the same boat as this before, I'm not judging by the way, and you was there until you accepted. We think that if I just lose the weight first, then I'll accept myself and learn to love myself. But it does not work. It has to work in the complete opposite way. Like if you practice accepting yourself as your worst self, however you perceive yourself, that's when something magical happens. You stop fighting with yourself. You stop wishing things were so desperately different. And then all of a sudden, you can get back into fitness with no judgments around your size. And then look at you now.
Yeah.
It's the opposite way around, guys. You won't learn to love yourself when you've lost weight. You have to do this work first. And weight loss,
that's what it is. It's learning on the process that you're not going to go from a place of self-hate to self-love just like that, because even 18 months down the line, I still wouldn't say I have complete love for myself. However, I certainly like myself now. Well, to say that, and there's elements of what I am and what I look like I love. So I think it's just that process of time, I think. And from someone to go from really hatred to actually liking and loving parts, I think is for some in 18 months, when you think for what 15 years I've spent hating myself, in 18 months I've gone.
Yeah, and that is huge. And would you say you loved yourself as a person, not what your body looks like physically? Do you love Natalie Fletcher?
Yes, because I know what I bring to be, and before, and I've got my self-worth now, and I know what I am as a person. I know what I bring to others and my life, and I can see it now. Whereas before, I've always been like this, in all fairness, because as you know, and if you speak to all my friends and my colleagues and stuff, they would always have said that I'm this person, because obviously I hid a lot of what was really going on. But now it's more genuine. So when I'm being the upbeat, positive, outgoing person, which I've always shown to the world, I believe it now.
Yes.
Everyone else has always believed it. I now believe it.
Yeah, that's the key. It's like there's a saying that I absolutely love. Let me make sure I get this right. We can only receive love from other people to the extent that we love ourselves. So someone could love you, like me, as your best friend, like 100%. But if you don't love yourself, you only love yourself, I don't know, let's say 40%, you will only be able to feel and receive 40% of the 100% of love that I have for you. And it took me a while to get that. And you know, my mum's been through something similar, and she has so many people around her that care for her and love her, and she intellectually knew that. But until she's done and continues to and is doing the work to love herself, only then can she start to feel and appreciate and accept the love from others. So it really does start with self, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How would you say your relationship with food is nowadays?
Well, I wouldn't even say it's a relationship anymore. It's just
food.
It's just food. I'm doing wrong. I'm organised, and I make a conscious effort to eat healthier because I want to be healthier, not because I want to lose weight, and I want my son to be healthier and live a healthier life. So I'm very mindful, as in when I do my food plans, but then that's never not been the issue for me, because I've always relatively eaten well when it comes to my breakfast, lunch and dinners, because I'm an organised person and I do my food plans. And obviously my issues used to be with my snacking and my binge eating, that's the area where my relationship has healed.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the last time I even had a binge eat. And as you know, I suffer with bulimia. So I would eat myself to the point where then I would go and physically make myself sick because I felt so bad because of what I'd eaten. And a part of my mind thinks if I'm sick, it's not going to put the weight on. And I've not done that since we started our journey. So healed healed is the word I would use then in relation to that side of my relationship with food.
Yeah, that's massive. And again, thank you for being so personal and sharing so openly, because so many people will relate to what you're saying, and they may think that they're so alone and it's only them, but it's not, is it? It's really not.
And I have chocolate when I want chocolate, and I'll have a cake when I want cake. But because I've lost the guilt around having that piece of cake or that chocolate, I will literally just have that piece of chocolate or that cake. I won't go on, as you know, one day when I had 6 cornettos and 2 tubs of ice cream, because it was just eating out of guilt. And whereas now I don't do that. So, and I've naturally, my portion sizes have gone down. What I want to eat has decreased because I don't feel the need to eat. Like, reality of it is, if me and my son, we love watching films together, and it was just a given that I had a big bar of chocolate, a big bag of sweets, ice cream and popcorn. That was a given. Well, the other night we had a bag of popcorn and we split it, and that was it. And I didn't feel like I was depriving myself by not having everything else. I just didn't fancy anything else. I walked around the supermarket to decide what I wanted, because I knew that we were going to have something with the film. And the only thing I fancied was a bit of popcorn And when I saw the size of the bag, I thought, well, that will do me and Tyler. We don't need a bag each. And it was plenty. And I felt satisfied after eating just a half a bag of popcorn.
That is incredible. See, it is possible, listeners. It is possible for you, because again, I've been in a position where I've heard similar stories to yours and I've thought, but that wouldn't work for me. And I'm sure that's what you felt. I remember having the conversation.
If you'd asked me 18 months ago, I would never in a million years said to you, I would have just had half a bag of popcorn while I watched a film. Never thought it in a million years.
I remember we were sat in my sister's garden, and because I was in England at the time, and then you came round, and I remember saying to you, like, offering you coaching as an actual thing, like, let's be serious, and yes, we're best friends, but if you're happy to invest and if you're happy to have your best friend as a coach, because the relationship dynamic obviously is a bit different, you can't, I'm not showing up to calls as your best friend, I was showing up as your coach. And I remember saying to you, look, just promise yourself that you'll give 6 months to this process. And if it doesn't, quote, work after 6 months, then you can go and fall back to dieting and do what you've always done and just diet harder. And I remember saying that to you. I don't know if you remember that either.
Yeah, I remember that in your sister's garden, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were like, okay, I'm in. And I'm just so proud of where you are, because you've done the work, Nat. Like, that's what I mean. Like, at the beginning, it was difficult for you. It took effort. It does take effort, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Yeah. It takes effort, but you've shown up and done the work. So again, I'm celebrating you in front of everyone watching and listening, how proud I am.
But I think, obviously, with you saying, touching on the friendship and the coaching, we were very honest with each other when we had that conversation, and we have kept it to friendship, because obviously, as we all know, you're in the Netherlands and I'm in the UK, but we made a time to have a catch-up call as friends. And then the call that we had when it was coaching was purely about coaching, and we didn't have the catch up and things like that. So we did manage to keep it. And we both said, if it doesn't work and the overlap's not there, we knew, but it was worth giving it a go. And luckily for us, because our friendship is so close, we were able to separate coach and friendship.
Yeah, and I think that says something about our friendship, like you say, because not everyone can do that, and it's what they say, you shouldn't mix business with pleasure and all those things, but it was all meant to be, and it's all worked out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What would you say, how you live now, how you feel towards yourself, accepting your body, your relationship with food, how has that enabled you to live a richer and happier life currently?
Well, currently, like I said, beginning of the year, fitness is the thing for me. So I loving being back in the fitness world and doing it for me.
100k, by the way, just FYI.
Running a marathon next month.
Just so, as you do.
As you do. Yeah, so I think it's helped me find that love again, and it's my me time. I know obviously fitness isn't for everybody, I appreciate that, but for me it's that hour, 2 hours if I'm running a long run, where it's just me. I don't have to think about anybody else. I'm doing something purely for me. And as you know, because you love the fitness side world, that feeling you get when you had a good workout, or you've achieved something that you didn't think you could achieve, or you've just given it your all, you can't help but be happy with yourself. And that's the feeling I love. That's what I crave from fitness, that feeling afterwards, because obviously, as we know, and you've trained with Craig before, it's not always a pleasant experience.
Oh my God, I used to be scared to go to, literally scared to go and
I
train.
wouldn't say I enjoy it sometimes through the process, but the feeling you get after you've achieved it is, like I said, something you can't put into words, I don't think sometimes. And so the fact that doing the coaching has helped me go back into that world and to feel that feeling again, which I haven't felt for a few years. Obviously that's imperative to me, and that's a big thing. Also, I'm going for my career again. It's given me confidence. I've just passed to get onto CID, so I'm doing that again. So that's given me confidence. Just even turning up to work happy again, because I was already in a negative mindset before whatever worked through at me, because putting that uniform on in the morning just plummeted my mood. straight away. And it doesn't matter whether it could have been a good day or bad day, or I wouldn't have known, because I woke up in a foul mood and I couldn't snap out of it. And I'd never felt like that. And obviously I've been in the police force nearly 19 years. But I've got to the point where now I just put my uniform on and I go to work and I make the most out of the day and try and make it a positive day. Because obviously with my work, it can't always be positive, because I'm a police officer. Not everything is positive and unicorns and flamingos, is it?
Unfortunately not.
No. So unfortunately there is negativity in my line of work, but I don't let it affect me anymore like it was, because as you know, I don't always deal with pleasant people, and a few made comments about my appearance and things like that, which I let it massively affect me when it really shouldn't, because these people don't mean anything to me. They only see a uniform. But I was taking everything very personally. Whereas I don't anymore. I'm just like, well, if you don't accept me for me, I don't care. So yeah, so that's the difference.
I love that, and I believe that's because you accept yourself.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've healed the wound of acceptance. So now you're like I mean, I know it's an ongoing everyday journey. It's never like you've got their big tick, congratulations, happily ever after. I get that. But when we've accepted ourselves, if someone else has a negative judgment about us, it doesn't affect us in any way like it used to, because we accept ourselves, and that's all that matters.
Well, I was heartbroken when this delightful is how I'll describe them made quite a rude comment about my weight in front of a lot of people. And that broke me. It really did. But obviously I'm in a professional role, so I had to hold it together in front of so many people, and then I broke later on. And whereas now I don't care what they think or what they say about me. And a little example was the other week when I was at work, I was in uniform, and then we had been targeted or something. So they wanted us to quickly go into plain clothes to do something. Well, the only thing I had with me was my gym stuff, because I had planned to go to the gym after work. So I literally just said to my colleague, oh, I've got my gym stuff, I'll put that on. They won't think that I'm a plain clothes officer then if I'm walking around in gym stuff. So I literally put my gym stuff on and went straight out. Well, I 100% know a few months ago that gym stuff is revealing. It's like I would never have even thought about doing it, let alone actually physically doing it. But I didn't think twice about it. I just thought, well, that's what I want to do. I put my gym stuff on. I didn't think anything of it, and just went out in my gym stuff, walking around. And I didn't care. It didn't even cross my mind what somebody else might think of me walking around in my gym stuff. I just thought, no, this is what I want to do. This is what and even my colleague, who obviously knows part of my journey because we're close, even commented and went, wow, Natalie, you would never have done that months ago. So that's just like a little win again, I suppose.
I think these little ones are quite big. They are really big, and I bet you're pleased that we're having this conversation as well, because it's just kind of clarifying how far you have actually come on your journey. Okay, I have 3 questions left, and 2 of them are quite, I don't want to say egocentric, but I'm going to ask them because it might help someone who's sat on the fence now wondering whether to reach out and have me assist them. So if you were to use 3 words to describe me as a coach, what would they be?
Well, I've had a thought about this anyway, but knowledgeable, relatable, and genuine.
Oh, thank you. And if you was to use 3 words to describe me as a person, what would they be?
Thoughtful, inspirational, and just awesome.
Ah, thank you. I'm still practicing just receiving all of that, and I am, so thank you. And do you feel that the investment of your time, energy, attention, money was worth well, it's not like a result, is it? Was worth the coaching and what you've got out of it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I'm a different person now, and I just feel like we had this conversation once, actually, me and you, about wanting happiness. And then I read something about it's not happiness, it's fulfillment, because happiness is just a byproduct. And if you're chasing happiness, you'll never find it, because there'll always be something else that changes that goal. But to feel fulfillment will naturally make you happy. And I think that's what I'm in the process of. I'm starting to feel there's still areas that I'm working on and working towards, things like that. Just like you said, I've always been a bit unlucky in love, and I've never found that person, but I don't beat myself up about that anymore, and what will be will be. So I just think if you work on being fulfilled, which is what I'm doing, because the work that we've done has given me the confidence and the skills to work on being fulfilled, then I'm happier in myself day to day anyway.
That is like a mic drop. Do not chase happiness. Practice feeling fulfilled through it all. Finding meaning through it all. Wow. And one last thing I lied, it was 4 not 3. My things were stuck together. What would you say to someone who was maybe sat on the fence a little bit, wondering whether they should take that leap and invest in themselves if they're really struggling in the diet binge cycle?
I think you've just got to back yourself, back you, have some faith that it will work, and trust the process. And as hard as it is to, like I said, especially for people with financial difficulties and things like that, I think sometimes you've just got to just take a few seconds and just really think about what you want in life and how you want to live your life. And everyone's going to say they want to be happy or fulfilled, and you've got to realize what it is that's going to get you there, and that is breaking the cycle of what you're in. And if you've tried every other thing but never tried coaching, then just take that risk, because it pays off, and have faith it will pay off, because there's so many people that have done coaching that their lives have been transformed. And like I said, and for me, coaching isn't, like as I said earlier, a plaster over what's happened, and then obviously once it comes off in the wash or whatever, you're back to square one. Coaching deals with the real issue, and this is hard to deal with for some people. Obviously it was a little bit easier for me because we have a relationship already, although I've done some counselling courses and stuff, and sometimes it is always easy to speak to a stranger over someone you know. We're just lucky we have that closeness, that I'm honest with you. You're one of the few people where I've always been honest with how I feel and what's happening. So, but to speak to a complete stranger, especially someone where there's no judgment or anything like that, just getting it off your chest sometimes about what's happened, and then addressing and moving, giving you tools to then, once you know what the cause is, to learn the skills then to overcome it, is just obviously paramount, isn't it? It's just like so worthwhile. So definitely take a gamble.
Thanks, Nat. And there was one client that said to me, when we had the intake call, so the consultation call, to see if it, if coaching was right for her, or if it wasn't, it was right for her. And she said after the call, wow, just having that free consultation call, I feel like I've told you my like dirty little secret, she called it, which was the binge eating. And then she's gone on to transform as well. And I just want to do a bit of a plug here. Not a single one of my one-to-one clients have walked away from coaching without having a huge transformation, because as me, as a person, who I am as a coach, I believe in you until you believe in yourself, and I am not going to stop until you're where you want to be. So my heart is so big, it can take all of it, all the love for you. So I have 2 surprise personal questions for you at the end, Nat. Sorry. Number 1 is, if you could go and talk to your 10-year younger self, so you'd be 30, what would you say to her?
So am I talking to myself as I was when I was 30? And what I was going through when I was 30? Well, obviously I was in that cycle of binge eating, but I was in denial in when I was 30. I hadn't accepted anything that happened to me, or why it was happening, or anything like that. I was in complete denial. I never even spoke up about my depression, anxiety, nothing at that point in 30. So it was very, very hidden at that stage of my life. So I think it would be be honest with yourself, be honest with others. There's no shame in feeling how I felt. And I wish I'd said that then, so I wouldn't have not wasted another 10 years of my life, because luckily, because of the person I am, I've still tried to live my life to the fullest, just suffering in silence. And like I said, not to suffer in silence any longer, and just face your fear, face your fear.
That's so beautiful. And if you could go to your 50-year-old self, so 10 years in the future, what would you say to her, or what would you ask her?
How have you become this badass woman?
And what did she say to you? What would she say in 10 years' time?
Just love yourself, be yourself, and accept yourself.
I love that so much. And Nat, if anyone wanted to reach out to you, because I know that I'm sure you wouldn't mind if they want to give any feedback or want support or anything, how can they find you, and how can they connect with you?
Either through you. Don't really like to give out my personal email or social media, to be honest, or Instagram, really. I don't mind Instagram because that's open out to everybody. Princess Warrior 80.
Princess Warrior 80. I follow her, of course, and we're tagged in things anyway, so
so either through Instagram message or through yourself.
And I just want to thank you again, Nat, because I just love you so much, and just seeing how far you've come. And do you know, the best thing for me is, as a best friend and as a coach, seeing you fall in love with yourself, it like just brings tears to my eyes, because that's just what I want for every single person in the whole world, because the feeling is just indescribable, isn't it? Oh my God, it's a podcast. But I love you so much, and I cannot wait to get this episode out. Thank you so much for your time and your honesty. I'm sure it will help so many people.
I love you lots, babe.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.